Okay, guys, we are live and have two legends to chat about the Reds. And what better place to chat about the Reds than Dave's LFC chats? We have Ste Plunk from Redment TV in the house. Ste, it's been a while. How are you?
I'm great, mate. Thanks for having me on. It has been a while. We were just speaking about it off air. More than 12 months since I came on here, mate. So,
A lot's happened.
good, good. Yeah, lots happened since then. Good to be back and good to have a chat with two sound lads as well. So,
Yeah, no, fair play for coming on, Steve. I always appreciate a brilliant voice of reason, the voice of reason from Ste Plunk. And of course, it's Jack from Anfield
Hello.
Road TV. Jackie boy, you've been on about 4,000 times, but how are you?
Yeah, bit you sick of me, Dave, but yeah, not too bad, mate. Good to speak to you again, Steve, and everyone. Hope you're having a good day. Just had a KFC, so I'm full. So teasing myself with
For a man
KFC.
that used to work in Mackey's, what?
Oh,
KFC,
yeah.
blasphemy, baby.
Yeah. Other products are available. So
Right. Look, guys, we're going to have a little half hour or whatever. We'll just see how long it goes. A bit of chat about the Reds. It's half term, mid-term, as the Americans would say, I suppose. We're halfway there. It's been a crazy 5 months, let's say. It's been an unusual, unpredictable, not where we want to be, not where we thought we would be, especially after that Community Shield, Steve. I'm sure you were thinking, let's get ready to rock here. Let's get it to that top. It'll be between us and City. There's only going to be, probably us and all this type of thing. And the Fulham game came along and everything, well, I wouldn't say everything went wrong, but it's been crazy, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has been crazy. And I thought the Charity Shield would herald a real statement of intent for Liverpool to go on in the season and show Manchester City what we were about. What we didn't legislate for was the sort of the fallout from trying to do the Herculean thing of getting the quad under the belt and becoming football immortals. How many times have we tried to climb the summit only to fall at the last hurdle? And you kind of have to look at these players. I was saying this the other day. Jordan Henderson's played 470 times for Liverpool in that centre midfield, which is arguably the most labour-intensive centre midfield in world football. And it's little wonder that the guy's legs are gone and he's struggling for a bit of form, mate, because we ask so much of those guys. So, yeah, you're right. I could never have imagined if you told me what would be happening now off the back of that Charity Shield, I probably would have laughed at you.
Yeah, I mean, Jack, we've talked about it a few times. It's disappointing. I mean, okay, it's halfway through the season. It's not over. We can't throw towels in. We don't throw towels in on this channel. I'm sure Steve doesn't do it either. But we have to be realistic. We have to be realistic as well. It's going to be hard to get top four because it's out of our hands. No matter what we do, it's still out of our hands. We have to hope other teams drop points. And when it's out of your own hands, it's not a good place to be.
yeah, we've regurgitated a couple of times, haven't we, mate? With Ivan and Keith, it's difficult, as Steve's alluded to, the physicality in which Liverpool do play at the replenishing of the squads in certain areas, as we all know. Every Liverpool fan knows. We could have added one or two better additions, but we've got to deal with the cards we've been dealt with at the minute. And I'm pretty sure if Liverpool, highly doubt we'll get Jude Bellingham, but if that was the case, then that would take a very a lot of money to get him into your football club. And he would add a lot of quality, but I don't think Jude's going to come in and revolutionise this Liverpool midfield. It's going to be another 2-3 added additions along with the attacking forward line and the defensive line as well. But yeah, it's interesting, mate. And as we said, we're only halfway through. There's plenty of football to go. And yeah, we've been in this experience before. We know what it is to get into top four. It's going to be interesting. I'm more interested, don't know, lads feel and chat in terms of how Newcastle, the back end of this season. I know a lot of people saying Eddie Howe's overhyped, but I really do love watching him. It was a good interview done with Jake Humphries a couple of weeks ago, High Performance Podcast, and he spoke about quite eloquently in terms of the values and the principles as a manager he puts into his players, and that they haven't really dug into the wealth of funds that they potentially have had post Mike Ashley as well. So it's going to be intriguing to see how they do in the Prem. And it's good to see Arsenal at the top, a proper club as well.
Well, I mean, Steve, as Jack said, it's not only City there, and you've United improving, you've got bleeding Chelsea buying everybody, you've got Spurs being Spurs, you've got Arsenal, of course, on top of the league, which is wow. You know what I mean? I mean, Liverpool, it's not just. Even if they get Bellingham, I still think there's a good chance of getting them in the summer. Of course, I think it's inevitable, to be honest. But we need more than bleeding Bellingham. I think we're going to need 3 or 4 players.
Yeah, I would agree. I think, Jack, you're exactly right when you say if you sign Jude Bellingham tomorrow and lump them straight in the middle of our centre midfield, it wouldn't change too much. The problem we've got is our entire front six. By that, I mean the midfield and the front line.
Yeah.
Years ago, if you were fortunate enough to watch Liverpool play from inside the ground or from an analytical point of view, both the midfield and the front line worked in unison. So the press and the counter press was a 6-man joint movement at the same time. We laughed at Bruno Fernandes when we beat them 4-0 for trying to press Virgil van Dijk on his own. That is basically what Mo Salah's trying to do at the moment, because it's just not happening. We can't press. The front three are not used to the system, and we're still trying to play with a high back line. If you can't press, you shouldn't be playing with a high back line. So we need to learn. I'd probably favour us playing for the rest of the season as more of a counter-attacking unit rather than a really high press and a high back line, because we're leaving ourselves open for the third man running, which the Napoli game away from home when they got in behind us at free will should have been every alarm bell going off to say, hang on a minute, we can't stop the runners. We can't win our 50-50 battles in the centre of midfield. So Jack's exactly right, as I say. Jude Bellingham, who I also believe will sign for Liverpool in the summer, alone will not solve the problem. We need 2, if not 3 in there. So there's a big overhaul coming in the squad, and we're going to lose 2 or 3. So we're duty bound to replace them, but we need to replace them with the quality.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about transfers eventually. It's ifs, buts, maybes. I still do think. I think the Jude one seems to be inevitable. Like, geez, it better happen, because if it doesn't, the boys will be out with their flags. Let's put it that way. But I mean, Steve, at the end of the day, look, we're halfway there. Klopp, it's been a weird season for the fact that even some of Klopp's press conferences, I'm sure you watched them being with Redment TV and stuff. He's been saying some unusual stuff. He's been coming out pre-Christmas now. I'm talking about really unusual stuff about ownership and just giving bits away. Before that, he'd never opened his bleeding mouth. So I always thought maybe there's something going on in the background here in the club. You know, we know there's FSG looking for either partial investment or full ownership or full sale, basically. I still think it's probably only an investment thing to look for at the moment to get a bit of money in, maybe to get money for the summer. But I mean, do you not think there was something weird going around October, November with the club? We were losing games. Klopp wasn't quite. I was worried for Klopp, actually. I was worried for himself, his own mental, psychologically for him, I meant.
Yeah. I always think football teams are a direct correlation to their manager. And at the time, he was agitated and frenetic and not happy. We were agitated and frenetic and not happy. You know, you look at Manchester City sides, are Pep Guardiola in a microcosm. Arsenal currently got the same energy that Mikel Arteta shows, and so on and so forth. With Klopp, he was agitating for money. He's agitating for change. He clearly knows he needs to upgrade what he's got in terms of his team, and he's struggling to do that. On the takeover thing, I don't think minority investment helps at all, because if you buy 10% of Liverpool or 30% of Liverpool and you pay £1 billion for the privilege, FSG will swallow that money up, and the business model doesn't change because you don't have a say because you're not the majority shareholder. So you kind of have to sit there and wait for your shareholder dividends. That's probably as good as it gets if you're a minority investor, in my opinion. Yeah. We think, well, we've talked about many times that they want to buy an NFL franchise, and the Washington one is due up for sale in the coming months. That's going to cost them a lot of money to do that. I still think they favour getting out for a couple of reasons, and the biggest reason for them would be right now we're on the precipice of a financial crash, a global recession, finance one. The club will not be worth $4 billion again for a couple of years. This is the peak of its investment for them. So to get out after spending £300 million and getting $4 billion back in is 1,250% profit, which is pretty impressive, to be fair. So it's a great financial transaction for them. It's not a sporting transaction. It was all about the money. For me, they're trying to get out why their yield, how much money they bring in, is at the highest possible point.
And it could be this Qatari consortium. They seem to be the ones with the money anyway, all the Middle Eastern big consortiums, you know.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that, to be honest with you. That's a different
conversation. That's the problem. And Jack, we've talked about the moral, the ethical thing about that. And I mean, look at Newcastle with Saudi. That has its own problems. I mean, that's probably even worse. Let's be real. I mean, Saudi Arabia has a really poor, let's be honest, human rights record. And
this is it.
I mean, what do you do? What do you do, guys? We need investment. Can we be picky? Can we be choosy? That's the question, lads.
I think. Go on, Jack.
Sorry, see. Yeah, I was just going to say, I think all of us, we're just Liverpool fans. We just want to be seeing Jurgen Klopp getting the right resources in reality and helping us challenge for top four. Well, not top four. It is top four this season, but for the top major trophies, because we're very fortunate. And yeah, I'm only 27. You have to think about that. I'm only 27. He's the best Liverpool manager I've had in my lifetime, and I've listened to my dad when he used to go to all the away games in the 60s and 70s and what magical journeys he went on across Europe. And it's the biggest issue was trying to get a manager of that level into Liverpool Football Club for a very long time. And he was available, brought him in. FSG backed him on the right players here and there. And the infrastructure at Liverpool, we've aspired to be here. Not quite this season, but the previous seasons for the well excess of 30 years in the Premier League trying to win the league title. We're not that far off where people think this season. I don't think we're 2-3 maybe additions of real high elite level performers to really get us back up there. Because we've got Salah, Van Dijk. We all know the top player. You don't become a poor player overnight. But yeah, I just want to say, I think all of us do. We just want to see Jurgen Klopp being backed right, but it's about what Jurgen Klopp and goes back to the principles as a manager, as well as time at Mainz, time at Dortmund as well. He's not a case of a Guardiola type, Thomas Tuchel, someone that gets a lot of money. He probably frustrates himself. He's quite content with, and he'll spend it. And he's admitted he's backtracked on quite a lot of comments he's made over the last 12 months. And he's held his hands up high and said, yeah, I've said in the past, and it was a couple of weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, that he said Liverpool now need to compete. To be able to compete with Chelsea, we need to be at that table. Sorry, man.
Yeah.
I think the chat you just put on, Dave, the comment you just put on about FSG won't spend their own money. They're not able to spend their own money. We don't go to John Henry and say, can we have £100 million for a centre midfielder, please? We go to Billy Gordon and say, is the money in the LFC coffers? What FSG do is stop us from becoming Leeds United, where we spend every penny we've got. We end up in Division 2 and Division 3, and everything goes out the window. What worries me is that if we get in new owners, what kind of new owners do we get? What if we get another type of FSG that think they can glean
Glazers
out of the football club? Exactly.
Glazers Mark II.
Yeah, and they don't spend the money because FSG never said they were going to challenge Manchester City with a checkbook. They came in and stabilised the football club. And I'm not pro FSG or against FSG. There's good, bad, and indifferent in everything they've done in the time that they've been with us. But we're all, if you look at our fan base, they all seem to think the day that the new owner walks through the door, Jurgen Klopp's got £1 billion to spend. There are absolutely no guarantees of that. So we need to be careful what we're anticipating.
Yeah.
Could you imagine a world where we get a new owner and the new owner turns around and says, there's 50 million quid in the transfer kitty for the summer? Could you imagine the furore on Twitter? The server would explode, wouldn't it? So we need to be very mindful that you don't always get what you want. Things
grass isn't always greener. Is that the famous saying?
100%. That's absolutely basically what I'm trying to say. So we could run the club differently. FSG could sanction Liverpool running the club at, let's say, £150 million losses every season, which would allow us to go out and buy those players and sign the players that we all want and we all think we need. And quite rightly, because we do. What they're trying to do is just build this portfolio, this football club up to a level where when they exit, they're absolutely quids in and they can do whatever they want with the proceeds. And that's the reality of it. That's where we're at.
Yeah. As Eamon Kelly is saying, we should have started the rebuild much earlier. Fail to prepare, prepare to fail. I mean, like a lot of people call me a real FSG, a lover boy type of thing. I'm not, as I just said there, Steve, they've been very good for the club in a lot of ways. I mean, the ground, expansion, the new AXA training facility, the players they brought in at the right time. I know Coutinho was involved in the sale to get Alisson and Van Dijk, but that was smart. That was really good, smart.
Yeah.
You know, don't slag them over that. You know, that's like selling your 2-bed apartment and getting a 3-bed semi, baby. So at the end of the day, so for me, they've been really good. They have done mistakes. Every owners have made mistakes. They made mistakes in not investing in 2 or 3 windows where they should have. When we won the league for the first time in 30 odd years, we didn't invest that summer, and you always invest at the top. That was a big mistake. Then that season where we had to play bleeding centre midfield and centre half, we brought in Kabak, we brought in Ben Davies, we gave him a fucking key to the dungeon.
Hindsight's a wonderful thing, no boys, isn't it? Hindsight's a wonderful thing, and I think the last couple of this season
that was hindsight, Jack. That's planning.
No, but
that's
I think
we knew that was a mistake.
Yeah, no, but I mean this season though, I think for Jürgen, he's still got 3-4 years left in his contract. He would have learned a lot, and for first and foremost, listen to his press conferences, listen to his post matches. We all have listened to them. He's got a very good inkling of what the players now, especially tough times make tough people as well. Like, and he'll know the characters that he wants in that changing room off the back of this season. He'll know exactly who's kicking up a fuss, who's not really trying as well. And it's this season, as much and as bad as it has been, I think long-term vision for us as a football club, I think this is probably the biggest hurdle, probably most importantly, obviously the centre-back issues a couple of seasons ago. But I think we will come out much better in the long run, the next 3 to 4 year periods, due to what has happened this season, regardless of whatever happens off the field, but focusing on the field. I think from a tactical sense as well, I think Jürgen Klopp would have very much, and similar to when you look at Newcastle as well, though, boys, similar when Liverpool, the last previous seasons, teams were playing quite expansive. Newcastle will have exactly the same issues Liverpool have had over the last 2-3 years. When teams are sitting behind the ball against Newcastle, Newcastle will struggle so much to break down teams when teams are going, oh, hang on, give it 12 months. They'll be sitting behind the ball. Joelinton won't be able to bloody get any pockets of space in behind any team's midfield, and then they'll be spending, and it's up to Jürgen Klopp, it's up to Eddie Howe, it's up to these managers, even Arteta as well. He's doing a good job. It's always good when it's going well, but when it's going bad, that's when I think when everyone's heads explode anyway. What was it, 100 odds? That mad statistic over the last couple of years. We've picked up 101, 102 points out of 106. Like, we're not used as a fan base to losing games of football over the last 3, 4 years.
The problem is, Jack, it's the TikTok boys, the Instagram boys and girls, I call them. The ones that have only come in, fucking following Liverpool probably since Klopp came in 2015. They haven't known anything different. They've just seen success. They've basically, after his first year, finals here, losing finals, getting into finals, winning things, cups fucking galore.
3 European finals in 5 years.
You have a fallow season. You have a fallow season. You lose it. We've lost 6 games in the league. We were averaging 2 games a fucking season.
Yeah,
we were losing 1 game in 2 seasons in the league. That's outrageous. Even the great Liverpool sides of the 70s and 80s weren't doing that. You know that, don't you? Just we're not doing that. So we've been absolutely spoiled rotten. We've had injuries. We have injuries. We know all about the fucking injuries. We do miss Diaz and Jota. I really do think we missed those 2 in particular.
Any team would miss that quality in their squad.
Yeah, we would. But we do have problems in other places. And Steve, I mean, it is a bit. I mean, that Thiago, Henderson, Fabinho tree, the days are numbered for that, surely. I mean, I'm sure you've talked about it on Redment. I mean, that tree is just hasn't got the legs anymore. I mean, surely it's.
Well, as I said before, 470 games for Henderson in that midfield. I don't know about you guys, but sometimes when he walks off the pitch, he looks absolutely. He struggles to walk. Never mind run. Fabinho, I have some sympathy for Fabinho this year. A small degree of sympathy. To be a good number 6, your 2 number 8s have to work properly for you either side, and that hasn't been happening. Take, for instance, the Leicester goal. We have a poor press. Henderson goes to press by himself. Dewsbury Hall beats his press and beats his challenge. Matip comes flying out the back 4 to engage him because he's got beyond the midfield. He didn't want to do that. Leicester's number 9 has taken Van Dijk over to meet Andy Robertson because that's what you would want your number 9 to do. and Dewsbury Hall's got a clear run at the back four, at the goalkeeper and scores. Gone are the days where we could have Wijnaldum, Fabinho and Henderson as a flat four, and they gave you nothing and they strangled you and suffocated you and you got nothing off those guys. Those days are gone. Thiago and Harvey Elliott, when they play, their starting positions are totally different anyway. Elliott's playing 20 yards further forward than Fabinho, so there's a pocket of space to play in there for the opposition. We will not get what we want playing the title winning formation with the current squad of players that we've got, because they're just not capable of doing that, which is why I said before, I'd really like to see us play more counter-attacking football, because when everybody's fit, in Diaz, Nunes and Salah, if you've got space in behind you, Nunes is the fastest thing you'll ever see. And he's faster running with the ball than most centre-halves are without a ball. So if you can isolate people and get those guys in behind, that's probably the way to go, because we already are starting to bypass our midfield and go a lot longer and a lot deeper transition, trying to get those guys in behind people.
No, and as Eamon's saying here, 19 games ago, as you say, we're halfway exactly on the button. Top four is not out of the question, but there's going to be a lot of hard work. We're going to need a bit of luck. We're going to need a bit of luck, because we're not in the position where if we win all the games, we're guaranteed top four, because it's in other people's hands. They're points ahead of us. But look, you can't write off this team or throw towels in. We just don't do that. We've done it, we thought about it before when we were down in the dumps and we've prevailed. With Jurgen Klopp there always is a possibility we could finish in the top four. There absolutely is. Or we could do something in the Champions League. Who knows?
Remember 06, boys? We were shocking that season. I was very young. And that year, you would have thought, Christ, imagine if Twitter Space were around at half-time against Milan, Christ. Rafa out at half-time, and we went on to win that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's still, there's still a quality in that. And I think probably the player look at this squad, and he's probably puzzled the most himself, is Mohamed Salah. And everyone keeps on bringing up the stats. He hasn't had a shot on target, but as Steve alluded to, you alluded to Dave Overs this season. Yeah, and when you're watching Matip and you're watching Ibu, they're all stepping out of place, and they're all and probably Matip, one of the most secure Liverpool players, probably the most composed in the team. When you've seen players go, what are you doing? They're all looking at each other. Even Alisson on goal kicks, he's playing out balls to his defenders. He's making rational decisions. But I think once everything settles down and we get back to doing the fundamental basics first and foremost, if you need to get rid of it, just clear your lines. And I think trepidation is seeping on from the crowd as well. And I think as soon as the crowd gets behind, which it will do, and that's a whole another podcast for another day, where every time we went to ground this season and even over the last couple of seasons, if Anfield is absolutely bouncing, and not just on a European night, then I think that eradicates a lot of your issues. You will have teams coming to Anfield being petrified once again, not just on European nights. Even if you need to greet the bus, the coaches and everything, get behind the lads. And that's what everyone on Twitter and social media should be doing, because these lads have given probably the best 4 years of any supporter's life. We're very fortunate. We all know 3 European, 4 the Europa League one before. Alberto Menino now, so I don't know what's out on that. But Jurgen Klopp's got us to 4 European Cup finals in the space of his tenure. That's unprecedented, unless you're Ancelotti or a Saki manager or whatever great legendary manager that is. Yes, we didn't go out and win all them. Great, but it's about learning, and I think, and I said this after we lost our first European final. Everyone that when you went to, I was saying to you, Dave, last season, I said we'll be back again because we got Jurgen Klopp and we are Liverpool Football Club. This is our baby. This is our competition. We know how to win it is.
Well, we'd be doing well to get past Madrid. If you get past Madrid, anything's possible. They're the holders. But Steve, Salah, Mo Salah, the king of Egypt. Go through a little bit of a rough. We've seen him go through rough spells before, but the one that Jack just said there, he hasn't even had many shots on target. Usually, you'd see him have shots, or would it be a bit of a worry or a niggle there? You think he's okay?
I think I saw a slide. Someone did a slide that someone on social media. I can't remember who it was. I would have saved it and be able to share it with you guys. He's still one of the top performing GA in terms of goal and assists in Europe. He's not hit the standards that you or I would come to expect. The situation with these players is, and I've talked about this quite a bit lately, is that when you've got players of Mo Salah's ability, you have to give him the ball in the right areas to hurt the opposition. So when you give it to him and where you give it to him, you don't just ping it at him when he's out wide and say, right, do something with that. He tends to face up his defender. The opposition have gone, oh, Mo Salah's got the ball. Get the right centre midfielder across there and get the right-sided centre-back across there. We'll all shift across one and we'll crowd him out. So that's his first problem. The second one is we've clearly allowed Darwin Núñez to decide which of the centre-backs he wants to isolate, which of the one he feels he can get at. Everton game, for instance, he chose Connor Cody, which was the Everton's left-sided centre-back. So he was playing in the half space between Cody and the full-back, trying to allow one of them to switch off. That's also the half space Mo Salah wants to make his inverted runs into. Yeah. So Mo Salah's got to go, hang on, I can't run in there because Darwin's in there. So I've got to sit out a little bit wider. You guys might recall prior to the World Cup, there was this big conversation. Have we changed what Mo Salah does tactically? Has Jurgen Klopp asked him to play out wider? Well, not really. For me, in my opinion, we were trying to accommodate a centre forward that wanted to isolate defenders one-on-one. So there's a number of different factors, but the most important one is we don't trust our midfield at the moment. We don't trust to give them the ball because here's a for instance. The next time you watch Liverpool play and we've got the ball and something happened and we go to the replay and we watch Liverpool go close, by the time play comes back, we've given the ball away. We give the ball away so easily at the moment. So we're not
ball retention. Ball retention is not what it used to be.
But I watched the last 20 minutes of Arsenal versus Man United. Arsenal must have strung 60 passes together 2 or 3 times, being patient, probing, waiting for that opening. That's only what we were doing. We've just forgotten how to do that. And our midfield is floundering at the moment. And if you can isolate them one-on-one and 50-50 challenges, there are more athletic, they are quicker, there are more pacey, there are stronger midfielders out there that say, right now, Liverpool is the midfield I kind of want to play against week in, week out, because you can get something out of our midfield. And that feels really weird saying that. But Mo Salah is suffering because we're not giving the ball where he wants it. And the front line is all over the place.
It's chopping and changing all the time. There's
no solidity there. Two new players now. Gakpo's come in. I've actually seen criticism of Gakpo, which I really don't understand.
I was going to ask you what your take on Gakpo.
Well, he's not played with the same team twice, has he? So how can
I like him. He's getting himself in the right positions. There's definitely something about him. Same at Núñez. I think Núñez is just bleeding chaos. You know what I mean?
Looks after the ball really well. If you play the ball into his feet, 6'4", strong lad, good skills. Looks after the ball really well. Gets his head up and plays the ball back to where it came from. That's where it breaks down, when it goes back to where it came from, and these lads are playing without confidence. It will be interesting when everybody's fit, because when everybody's fit, I don't think Gakpo gets in the team. But we'll have to wait and see, because I'm going Diaz over Gakpo when they're fit all day long.
Yeah, but he's only, as you say, he's only a young lad. He's great to have. Yeah, fights the will. I mean, you can never have enough forward players. That's what wins you games. Jota's a huge loss as well. I mean, he's just like the fox in the box, and he presses Jota. He just keeps running.
The most important,
ankles.
The most important for me, Dave. Like when we spoke this season, mate. The amount of match-winning goals he got the back end of last season, and like he completely elevates Liverpool's game in terms, and to Gakpo's point, as you were saying, there, Steve, he's probably not even. When we signed him, we had a couple of PSV fans in the comments, and we were just talking about what his best game was, and he was saying predominantly he's not a striker. He's more or less a left-sided winger, can play in the 10. He did in the World Cup for Holland as well. But it's all that we're trying to put him in that 9 position at the minute. But as we all know, predominantly down that left-hand side. And I think when you look at Liverpool, we all seen it, as Steve alluded to, we're trying to incorporate Núñez into that number 9 role, playing through the middle. And if you're adding Gakpo, if he's a starting 11 player in the next 2-3 seasons, then it's just about getting used to these players and used to the tactics and used to the philosophy of the club. And it's not enough. And it's not a game of FIFA where you lob these players in and you start winning games straight away. You need to incorporate in the methods and training. And the biggest word, as we all know, is patience. And I think Jurgen Klopp, a lot of us have got patience, but on social media, not a lot of people have got patience. They want it here and now. And sadly, that's not how football works.
Look, it's football's all about opinions. Gary Richards wants to play 4-4-2 with Nunes and Elliott up front, but I mean, you know what I mean? Little and large, like the old comedy shows from the 70s. But Nunes, back to Nunes, let's say, Captain Chaos. I mean, I think there's something about him. I mean, if he gets a proper season, look, next half of the season, I'm hoping he starts getting fucking banging the bleeding goals in. He needs to run the games. It's about confidence. And if you're not being fed the ball, he did miss a lot of chances. I think he's the most big chances missed for a forward.
Ticks all the boxes, Dave.
But he's getting himself in the right position, Steve. Yeah. And as you said, his pace is ridiculous. I've no worries about Nunes at all, do you?
No. And what he does well, you can't teach someone. You can't teach someone to get yourself into those positions. You've either got it or you haven't. He's suffering because straight away people are offering him up against Erling Haaland, who's like a freak of nature in terms of goal scoring. So football will do this. They'll sign two players. One will go to Manchester City. One will go to Liverpool. The Man City player is a goal machine. We know that. Doesn't do much else other than get on the end of things. Nunes hasn't had the same return, so straight away there's a criticism. His goals and his assists are pretty good, to be fair. Should be a lot better because he gets himself into really strong positions to score goals. The goals will come. I've got no concerns about Nunes. What he is absolutely box office, and I love watching him play.
Yeah, he is box office. It's just chaos. You don't know what he's going to do or what he's going to say or anything. It's just madness on the pitch. And imagine having him and Jota's. Well, Jota's bleeding. Jota's chaotic as well. I don't know what he's going to fucking do. But so where we are, obviously, lads, look, in the last 5-10 minutes, we'll finish it up. We'll move forward, back to the future to move forward. We'll talk about the next 4 or 5 months. I mean, it's a big 4 or 5 months for the club, I think, going forward. What we do, and obviously with ownership, we've no control over that. We can't. Let's just hope if owners come in between now and the summer, they're the right owners and they give us plenty of money and we can buy players and all is good and rosy in the garden. Who knows what's going to happen there? But player wise, and what have we got? A little bit of week left in the transfer, less than a week in the window. There's a lot of talk today and yesterday about a loan player coming in and something like that. Another art or melodramatic signing, but we know what way that went. Fucking what an absolute joke that was. I can't see anything major happening this side of next week. But what do you think, Steve, going forward? Just try solidify, get players back, do what we can, try get that top 4 spot. But what else can we do?
That is exactly what we can do. We need the bodies back up front, the familiar bodies that give you. Diaz is brilliant running in both directions. He gives you so much work defensively as well as attacking wise, and Mark's right. The complication didn't help him, and we look forward to getting him back. It's just about getting some confidence from somewhere. The team's bereft of confidence at the moment. You can't see where the goals are going to come from right now because it's all a bit disjointed, and that's because there's no confidence. They're tired, they're mentally fatigued. You know, when we won the league, I'll guarantee you there were players feeling fatigue. I'll guarantee you there were players feeling little niggles. Because we were closing in on the first league title in 30 years, because we were winning everything that was put in front of us.
What was it, 26 games in a row, wasn't it?
Oh, there you go.
The league, ridiculous.
It was crazy. They choose not to speak about them. They choose to not bring them up. They just ride them. They go into the next game and they get on with it. When you're not winning games, when you're losing games, when you're doing what we're doing at the moment, you find out a little bit about the character of these players. Some of them stand up to be counted. I've criticised Jordan Henderson's athleticism this season, but he still stands up to be counted. He's still a leader. He's still a captain. He's still all the things that we wanted him to be. The legs have gone. And that happens when you get to 32, 33, and you ask. That was about the age that Gerrard's legs went to, because we ask so much of these players. So it's about consolidation, Dave. You're quite right. Get the midfield back to a form. Try and find some form for Fabinho from somewhere. Give him something to work with. Get the front lads to understand how we press, because at the moment they don't. But when Diaz comes back, that will help because he does that properly. There's only Mo Salah in the front three that can press at the moment, and that really isn't helpful. So I don't see us getting a Frank Kessié or anybody else on loan, because it doesn't help, and our quotas don't allow us to do that anyway. Somebody would have to go out for us to loan somebody. And then it's about the summer. Then it's about the main targets in the summer, which will be at least 2 elite centre midfielders, at least 2 elite centre midfielders, and that is absolutely key. In doing that, you probably give the likes of Thiago a fresh lease of life, because at the moment, all he's doing is running backwards towards his goal, and that's not why we bought him, and that's not how you get the best out of him.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't realise, I mean, if your midfield is not doing its job, if your front three aren't pressing the opponent's defence and keeping their midfield happy, that's where you get exposed at the back. That's where we're getting exposed far too many times. I mean, Alisson's been brilliant for us, but for us to be saying that, I think is actually the wrong thing to be saying from top club. That your goalkeeper is actually being probably the player of the season so far. I don't want to be saying he's the player of the fucking season so far, because that's telling you something's wrong with the defence, that he's having to do these last-ditch bleeding tackles and all this type of thing. Yeah, in big games, you want them to pull them out of the top corner or score a header and stuff like that. But not in every game to be pulling 2-3 fucking saves off. You know, that's wrong for me. That's where your alarm bells should be ringing when your goalkeeper's getting man of the match. And I'm telling John Octoberg after every game, geez, Ali was brilliant today, wasn't he? But like, that's not the way. You know, that is not the way. So for me, consolidate, see what we got, get the players back, get Van Dijk back, get all the big boys back, Diaz, Jota. I know they're a few weeks away, but get them back. Just focus, I think, now. We've got the FA Cup the weekend, Brighton. Hopefully brighten up my Sunday, but I can't. It's going to be a tough one. To be honest, we probably beat them. It'd be like the Wolves thing, where Wolves should have beaten us, didn't beat us. We went to Wolves and won. I wouldn't be surprised if we beat Brighton the weekend. What do you think?
It's going to be difficult.
I wouldn't be surprised, though.
I love watching the young lad, the Japanese left winger, is it for Brighton? Mintomo. His price has just went up 60 million.
$2.5 million.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Hopefully, long term, Liverpool can pinch a couple of those Brighton scouts. You never know. But yeah, it's going to be difficult, mate. And that's the thing. For me, I think it's just, as Ste, you've mentioned, mate, and everyone in comments, just one game at a time. It's the boring mantra, the boring media training one, but it is just focus one game at a time. I think you can't look too far ahead of yourself in reality, because the stop-start nature of Liverpool, as we all know this season, it's not ideal. But I think if we can just be there to capitalise on other teams, and it wouldn't surprise me if we hopefully beat Real Madrid, be fantastic. It would open up the whole competition, because the thing is, Bayern and PSG are playing each other as well. Huge, and then that just opens up the whole tournament, as like if you can avoid one of the big boys again in the next round. So, but yeah, one game at a time, mate. For me, I think it's a Ste who's getting the players back to full fitness and just basically training on the training grounds, getting back to basics, doing the basic things right fundamentally. And I think that's where you will see the building blocks starting to appear, and we know what to do. It's just a case of just getting down and doing it.
Case of doing it. Well, we need fresh impetus. We do need fresh legs. We do need some sort of freshness and catalyst. We got the catalyst last year, of course, when Diaz came in around now. Remember in January, and that was a huge catalyst.
Bajcetic, I'm interested to see that.
Bajcetic, even hard to pronounce his name, but my God, this guy has absolutely.
Ben Doak as well. Only played probably about 10 minutes, but
you have a lot of questions to answer here. Bajcetic and Ben Doak. Wow.
Yeah, quality players. Bajcetic could probably save us £50 million at some point in the future, and Ben Doak's got no fear, has he? So need to be careful with him, because he's very, very young. They both are. They'll learn as much from bad performances as they will from good performances. That's part of the education of these young footballers. But I'd be happy to see Bajcetic particularly get a bit more of a run in the side. He is physical. He can run. He can move. He's clever.
Silky fucking.
Yeah, I love the way he drops his shoulder and lets the ball run.
Do you not think, Steve, that was a big call from Klopp to tell you exactly where Bajcetic is in Klopp's mind to start him against Chelsea at Anfield? That's a big plus.
And he'd said after the Wolves game, he saw enough effort from the guys in that game that those guys would be in contention to play at the weekend. He kind of created a meritocracy, and then he absolutely did that. And I thought that was really brave. And I thought Bajcetic had a lot more movement, a lot more mobility than we've seen anybody in the Six this season. He won't play all the games, but he should play lots of the games, because by the start of next season, he should really be in the thinking for first team squad every week.
It's a big, big show. I mean, Elliott's coming on as well. I mean, with some young lads there, some really good. Look, someone's talking there about Michalowski, the young striker. I think he's injured at the moment. Was he
He's had
the
last 2 years. He's had very big injuries. Even the Bajcetic, I think it was last season. It was out for half the year with an injury. He's only just recently come back himself. So, yeah, it's about. We've already mentioned Arsenal, but I think all of us as a neutral, when we've watched Arsenal this season, I say to my dad, probably you, Dave, as well. It's like watching Liverpool from a couple of years ago, the young athletic team. And I think we're building the foundations. You look at the age profile of Diaz, 25, Jota, similar age, Gakpo, 23. So if we can get that strong underbelly and added with the experience as well. And when you look at the wages, I think potentially Liverpool are to let 3 or 4 of the main team players run out of the contract. You're saving in excess of, I think when I was looking at it, £54 million in wages spread over like a 3-4 year period if you were to give them a contract anyway. So that's a lot of money. And obviously a couple of contract extensions for certain players for good performances as well will coincide with that. But yeah, it's about getting everyone training well. And I think long term, it just amazes me. Man United's title challenge, lasted a week? We've all got mates or relatives.
I think United are stepping in the right direction, though. I mean, they're a lot better than they were. They're harder to beat. They've decent home record. They're very attacking. They could add 1 or 2 in the summer. They could even add 1 next week. Who knows? But they've money there. I know they'll be out with the green and yellow flag soon if they don't buy somebody. But at the end of the day, I think they're moving. They're moving in the right direction, which we don't like to see. Let's be real, lads. Never mind Everton. Before we go, we have to have a word on Everton because they are the next door neighbour who, have been bold boys and girls and haven't been leaving their bins out on a Monday. So what's the story with your take, Steve, on Everton? I mean, obviously Lampard gone. They're all over the shop at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah, I speak to Everton fans frequently, and to a man, they all think they're gone. They all think they're going to be relegated. The guy says he's put the club up for sale. Now says he hasn't. Now says he has. It's a mess. It's they've thrown £500 million at that project, and what have they got to show for it? A team that's won 3 games in 19. To stay up, they're going to need to win 7 or 8. I can't see it. There's rumours in the city that Conor Cody smacked Anthony Gordon, and that's why he doesn't want to play for Everton ever again. That's why he's going to Newcastle. It's an absolute shit show at Goodison at the moment, and if they go down,
new stadium go down.
But it's the players that your prima donnas in the side aren't going to want to stay. They're going to want to leave. They're going to want to try and
get out of that league. Steve, if you go down, it is fucking tough down there.
Why not coming? There's no guarantee they come straight back up. Not at all. No. So it's hard. It's hard for Evertonians. We have a group of lads called Toffee TV who
next door to you.
They use one of our studios.
And I know
they resigned. They resigned to being relegated, and
and if they're saying it, they're hardened toffees. You get that one? They're hardened toffees.
They just say we're going down. It's goose. We're gone, and I think that's kind of setting yourself up for anything better than that is a bonus. I think it's probably a good way to look at it if you're an Evertonian, but it's an illustration of how not to do things. It's an absolute mess. So when our fans jump on the FSG out bandwagon because they haven't done this and they haven't done that,
Look across the park.
They haven't done what they haven't done in Everton, have they? So it's it needs to be better, but it's not Everton. So that is a positive in there somewhere, isn't there?
Yeah. Jack, I know you have a few mates that are Everton fans, but I mean, if they go down, as I said to Steve there, there's no guarantee. Even if you have money that you're going to come back up, that is a shit show of a league. It's really hard to win that league.
Where I look at it is as a City point of view as well, mate. The amount of money the City as a club has 2 Premier League clubs in the Premier League, the revenue stream that brings in, the tourism as well in terms of the travelling fans as well from both clubs. It's sad and it's disappointing. There's no probably bad arguments in the past with Evertonians, but it's all good banter. Like, I'm not one of these Reds that despises Everton, because I've got quite a lot of my best mates at Evertonians, and we wind each other up. And I very much agree with what Steve said there in terms of it's sad seeing them the way it is, because people outside of get them down and all that. But it's quite different when you live in the city in terms of, because like Liverpool Football Club means so much to every single one of us. And if you can put us in that situation, Christ, it's bad enough Liverpool losing games of football and how rubbish it makes us feel. Like the amount, the moods in which we mates have been in, it's not nice to see. It's and football is more than just football. It's a way of life. It's basically a church to them. They look forward to
Yeah,
on
it's
the weekend.
religious, especially in
Yeah,
England. I
yeah,
always
yeah.
said it was religious. Yeah.
So, like, it's disappointing, but it's probably a message to the rest of the world as well. You look at Bury Football Club, you look at Leeds, we've already alluded to tonight, mismanagement, and it probably goes for a deeper issue in English football that a lot of modern day football fans need to very much pinpoint. There's a lot more important issues. The changing of ownership, it's who's in charge of these football clubs. Steve's alluded to £500 million for Missouri, or whatever his name is. Like, where's that money gone? You're spending countless money on pointless things as well. It's going to be disappointing. And if Everton do go down, Dave, as you alluded to, that championship, it's probably one of the most difficult leagues in Europe, probably ahead of the Bundesliga. The amount of experience and
It's
the
the UFC of football leagues. It's really, you know what I mean? You get battered around the place. You're absolutely battered in there. You'll be on the fucking, you'll be getting battered all over the place. Conor McGregor will be punching the head off you down in mid-table. And a Stoke, on a rainy night at Stoke. But guys, just before we go, so look, we have a few months left. We are Liverpool Football Club. We're not throwing towels in. We'll see what happens, as I said earlier, with the FSG and the ownership. There's nothing we can really do about that. And to be fair, we should be even thinking about doing about that, because that's ownership. That's not really. We're fans. We want to see the team on the pitch winning 3 points every game, or getting the cup finals and winning things. That's what we want, Steve. So, as we say, next few months, are you positive? Are you apprehensive? Are you tentative? What are you for next few months?
I think you should always be positive, in the sense that even in bad seasons when things don't go well, you'll have some pluses that come out of it. And already we've spoken about Basetic, we've spoken about Ben Doak. Yeah. We probably see a bit more Calvin Ramsey before the end of the season. We get to see what some of the future players look like. We need to consolidate. We need to get the injured players back. We need to get Van Dijk back to the Van Dijk prior to the knee injury. I think he's been carrying the injury he's got now for a lot longer than he'd let you know. And it would explain why he played within himself. And then we need to have a look at what this new front line looks like, because at some point in the future, boys, it's going to be Diaz, it's going to be Núñez. Sorry, it's going to be Gakpo, it's going to be Núñez, and it's going to be Diaz. That when the time comes for Mo to move on, wherever that is, that probably looks like your front line, with Diogo Jota vying with Núñez for the 9 shirt. So I think there's some good things to come out this season in terms of what we get to look at and what we get to understand where we're going. And I want to see the players like Fabinho prove the haters wrong. I want to see him get some form back. I want to see him back to the player he was when we were talking about him being one of the best 6s in the world. I'm bored of hearing Casemiro's the best number 6 in the world. We had every justifiable right to put Fabinho in that conversation 2 years ago. He's either totally goosed and he'll never recover it, or at some point something's going to flick a switch, and we'll start to see a recovery from him. We'll start to see an improvement from him. If we don't get Europe, we don't get Europe. I then look at the summer and think, Klopp's now got to make changes to the squad. Klopp's got to come again. We can't afford another year in the relative wilderness when it comes to challenging for the league title. And I agree with everything you said at the start of your stream, Dave, is that to get anywhere near the top 4 or anywhere near it, we need a favour from other people. We don't look like a side that can go and win a dozen games in a row at the moment. We can win 6, lose 1, and then win another 6, and we'll be there and thereabouts. But it's been a strange season. Arsenal's side, I think everybody else has kind of dropped off a little bit. Look at Chelsea, it was 9th versus 10th at the weekend. Manchester City are throwing points away. The one season, City aren't perfect. We can't get our shit together to challenge them. That's really, really hard to take, isn't it?
That's killing me, yeah.
Yeah. So there's lots of positives to look forward to. Like I said before, I'm a glass half full man. I'm not going to sit here and depress myself. There's some small things to look at in terms of individual players. There's some system developments to watch for. And then we've got the summer transfer window, hopefully, where we go big and we bring in these elite players, and then we get ourselves ready for next season. So let's try to look forward, not backwards. Would be how I look at this one.
Yeah, exactly. I still think there's a bit more pain to come, but sometimes no pain without gain and that type of thing. And I think ultimately in the long run we'll be okay. We do need investment. We need fresh players. Well, I think once Klopp stays in there, I think we'll be okay, guys. He's there till 2026. And the way he's been talking last week, he might be there for another 10 years.
Yeah,
Who knows? Who knows?
Give him a pen, get him signed up.
Exactly. Right, guys, I think we'll leave it there. We're 50 minutes in. Thanks to the chat as well. So Redment TV, if you hadn't coming up, when are you on Redment TV again, Steve?
Well, I'm in every day at the moment, so because I'm full-time there now. So keep your eye on the channel. It's not all behind the paywall. We've plenty of free stuff for you guys to get involved in. My Liverpool debut, for instance, a really interesting chat with Jamie Carragher about how he made his debut for Liverpool Football Club. And we're putting content out all the time. And, if you're not watching Redmen, these two guys here, Dave and Jack, they've got their own channels. You definitely want to be spending some time watching those two fellas.
Well, the Redment TV and Anfield Road TV be down in the description, but I'm sure everybody's a Redment TV subscriber. Over 500,000 subscribers now at this stage. Jack, you much coming up? Brighton preview, I presume maybe Friday, is it?
Yeah, I need to rock it up my backside. I've had uni work this week, so yeah, and we'll see. Yeah, it's had a lot on this week anyway, mate. But yeah, probably do a post-match, a live stream, watch along, mate. But great to speak to you again, Steve, and obviously Dave and everyone. As I said, big up. We'll get behind the Reds as we always do, and we'll be back to winning ways soon enough, hopefully, a lot more quicker.
Well, guys, I enjoyed that. Hit the share. You know what to do, guys. Hit the like, hit the share. Give us a sub. Show us you care. I want to make that one. That's quite good. Okay, Steve, Jack, chat. Stay safe. You never walk alone. Talk soon. Let Liverpool brighten up my Sunday with a win against Brighton. Hove Albion.